and happy Mando Monday to each and every one of you. It's Dan Z from Coffee with Kenobi, about to adjust my chair. Whoa, how's it going, everybody? So good to see all of you here on Facebook Live every Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. We've got quite a show tonight. We're going to talk about top 5 moments from The Believer, a rather compelling episode, a very interesting episode with a lot to discuss. And then we're going to look at the Disney investors meeting and all those incredible announcements, because I know you've got a lot to say. I mean, you want to talk about an avalanche of Star Wars information and excitement. That was what happened last Thursday. So we've got a lot to get into. You know what? Why don't we just lead with that? Let's just go ahead and lead with that. What do you say? Yeah, I think I'm ready. Let's do that. What's brewing in the world of Star Wars this week?
And now, let's see what's brewing in the Star Wars universe this week.
Yes, so much going on. Zach, what's up, dude? Good to have you. Hello, Ross. Good to have you here as well. Chapter 15 was so good, but before we get to that, I want to get to the incredible announcements that happened at the Disney investors meeting. Never in my memory as a Star Wars fan or just a consumer of popular culture. Eric, good to see you, man. Really good to see you. Tyler, thank you. This shirt is from Celebration, the Celebration Anaheim that was not to be, but had to get a couple things. Got some more fun stuff from Celebration that's coming very, very soon. So look to Coffee with Kenobi for that. Hey, man, good to have you. Good to have you on the show. Yes. Thank you. The shirt is really fun. There's a lot of cool stuff happening from Coffee with Kenobi. Of course, you know about the Columbia giveaway, right? The Mandalorian exclusive interchange hybrid jacket that comes with the vest. That contest expires tonight at midnight. So if you haven't done it, go to coffeewithkenobi.com and enter the contest. And then we've got something really cool coming from Polaroid as well. Phil, great to have you, man. It's good to, man, look at all these people. This is great. Everybody brought a friend. I say every week, bring a friend. And I'm glad that you all did. Okay. So last Thursday, there was a 4-hour Disney investor meeting, and I think it was seen by over 300,000 people, which is a record for an investor meeting, because usually they're kind of a snoozer. This was not. This felt like a convention. This felt like being at the D23 Expo, but it was virtually. And I got to tell you, I had the best time watching this. We were watching it downstairs. Then we brought it up to the dinner table, had the laptop on. Absolute kudos to my wife for being such a trooper and putting up with us watching an investors meeting during dinner. But Mason and I were just going crazy. At one point at the end, when they announced that Mark Ruffalo would be back on She-Hulk, Mason was so excited. For more on that story, listen to last week's Coffee with Kenobi.com. But let's talk about this. So we've got a lot of announcements. I'm not going to hit every single one because this is more about Mandalorian tonight. But I think the one, at least when I did a Twitter poll on Coffee with Kenobi, that seemed to be the most exciting to people was the fact that we've got this Kenobi information. We know it's actually called Coffee with Kenobi. And the biggest news out of it, besides the fact that we know it's 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, is that Hayden Christensen is going to be back as Darth Vader. That's insane. What do you all think about that? Tell me what you think about that real quickly in the comments. Tyler says, my brother, sister, and I were texting each other like nut jobs during the whole thing. We were so hyped. It was great. I saw a lot of people on Disney that are in public relations and are just inside the company. We're talking about how this is like Christmas for them because there's so many exciting things that happen. Yep, Hayden, exactly. So Clayton on Coffee with Kenobi last week, it was me, Clayton Sandell, Corey Clubb, and Tom Gross. You know, some of your faves, right? Hopefully, that we were all talking about, you know, what that meant that Hayden was doing. And there's a little promo for the show there, but we're talking about what that actually meant as far as having Hayden there. If Hayden's only going to be Darth Vader, we're even going to see him? I don't know. It's going to be cool. Either way, just I think emotionally, just knowing that Hayden Christensen is inside there is worth it to me personally. So, Minta says, Hayden did the role of Vader proud. Can't wait to see him again in the role. Exactly. Mason is super psyched, of course. David, good to see you, David. He says, brilliant move to bring back Hayden. I agree. I think that's like it's like an emotional resonance that I think is really important. John doesn't know how it's going to matter unless there are flashbacks. Yeah, because Vader can't. That's a good point, John, because Vader can't take off his helmet. Eric said he yelled and clapped, scared his mom. We had the same kind of excitement on our end, too, for sure. For sure. And MD agrees. Yep, having him back. Stellar thing. Stellar thing. All right. So Minta is super excited for Ahsoka. We're certainly going to get to that. But Obi-Wan looks exciting. It's going to be, I think, 6 episodes, although they haven't officially confirmed that yet, at least recently. But it's great. Minta said Ahsoka. We'll get to Ahsoka. This is the one I was most hopeful for, and it was great to see it. Yeah, I think so too, David. We might see him in his meditation chamber with the helmet off for sure. But having Ahsoka on, and this is going to be a miniseries. I believe it's only going to be 1 season. And it sounds like they've got some huge plans because this one and then this one, Rangers of the New Republic, these two and then the Mandalorian are all in the same time frame / universe, although it's all in the same universe, but you know what I'm saying. And so they're all going to hopefully intersect with one another like the Marvel movies. That would be my hope. I think everybody would be excited about that one. So that's very, very cool. But I got to say, of the 3, I'm least excited for Rangers of the New Republic. That doesn't mean I won't eventually be wowed by it because, I mean, The Mandalorian certainly sold me. And Zach says, yeah, World Between Worlds teasing the logo. Yeah, look, see the circle there? And that's also what's on Ahsoka's belt buckle in the episode The Jedi of the Mandalorian. But yeah, there's a lot of possibility here. A lot of possibility. Yeah, Mary agrees with the crossover idea. And Ian says, 100% here for more Filoni Favreau projects. Bring it. Yes, Tracy Canobio, longtime public relations for Lucasfilm, joked and said this is a Filoni verse. So yeah, I think we're all excited about that. Tyler says Ahsoka is going to be good. I think Kevin Smith mentioned how it would be cool if Ahsoka, Rangers, and Mandalorian crossed over and Thrawn was the main bad guy. Yeah, I think that's sort of the general consensus as well. Mason is fired up for Ahsoka. And MD, are you a medical doctor? Or is that just your surname on Facebook? Let me know so I can address you correctly because the names are important, as we know. He says Ahsoka will rule the Disney Plus world if it's done right. Everyone wants to see her find Ezra, plus we want more Sabine. Yep, good point. Zach's hoping for Ezra too. I think we're all hoping for Ezra for sure. All right, and then Rangers of the New Republic. Corey said that was one of the ones he was the most excited about. It's probably least for me, but that doesn't mean I won't be sold otherwise once things kind of happen. Andor. Oh, a flight mech. All right. Very good. Very good. So Andor is the one we got to see like an actual pretty significant sizzle reel of. Showed us a lot of information, a lot of images. They're so far along in production, which was great to see. So it seems like we'll see Andor sooner rather than later. I believe it said next year, right? Next, well, I don't know. If my wife could certainly tell you I'm not great when it comes to numbers and that kind of stuff. I can tell you names and actors and all that stuff, but I can't remember when, but it's going to be coming out very, very soon. All right. Could this take over and not do standalone movies? Well, Zach, I don't know. I mean, Rogue Squadron certainly sounds like a standalone film, but I'm not really sure. I'm just not sure. It'll be interesting to find out, though, and I'm sure Disney will let us know, you know, when they're ready. I mean, the way they did this hype train was crazy. Phil says, now, if we can just find out what made Obi-Wan so old by the time we got to A New Hope. Well, I would say 19 years in the humidity of Tatooine in that desert and the stress and all that stuff, I would think that would be what would do it. I mean, honestly, I feel like the desert would age. It would certainly age your skin. Unless there's like a Sephora on Tatooine so we can get something for his face, which seems unlikely. So I don't know. It's a good question. Yes, thank you for your service. Absolutely, MD. Absolutely. Tyler says, I like the sizzle reel for Andor, but kept getting distracted by how handsome Diego Luna is. That's hilarious. And I thought it was cool how much of a fan Diego Luna appeared to be. I thought that was cool. So then we have Lando. We don't have much information about Lando. There's even some question about whether it's going to be animated or live action. I believe it's going to be live action. And if you listen to this week's Looking at Lucasfilm, my penultimate episode, because of course I'm wrapping up that show with Jim, but Jim has some interesting things to say about this Lando episode, so I would suggest that you check that out. Ross says too many Bantha burgers can age one as well. It's true. It's true. Bad for your digestion as well. So Lando could be great. I hope personally it's in the same era as the Solo film. That would be cool, because then we could hopefully get, you know, Donald Glover back. That would be awesome. But I would be happy with anything. Lando's a cool character, and so it'll be nice. Do I want L3 in the show? I don't, but that's okay. Some people love L3, and more power to them. Moisturizing is very key in those dry desert climates. See, Ian? Exactly. It really is. So Lando is going to be fun. And then the Acolyte is intriguing to me because I didn't expect to be that intrigued, but the fact that it takes place during the High Republic is very exciting because we're actually going to see something that's live action involving the High Republic time frame. So very, very promising. Very, very promising. Zach points out the Lando logo is similar to the comic logo. That is true. That is definitely true. And Phil says Lando and Mando. Oh, yeah, so you got to rhyme them. That's the key. I hadn't thought about that, Phil. That's funny. Donald Glover is the only way Lando's going to work. Agree? Yeah, I mean, certainly Billy D would be great. Obviously, he's older. But I feel like Donald Glover will be a home run. Personally, I wouldn't think you'd recast Lando. So, I don't know. I hope we get more information about that. And they're probably ready to announce that. I mean, let's get through this week of The Mandalorian and then see what's coming up next. And boy, if this was some sort of a Marvel podcast, wouldn't we be having all kinds of fun with that as well? But again, the sheer avalanche of stuff is pretty spectacular. But there's one thing that I want to talk about that we didn't, and that is this Rogue Squadron. I talked about this a lot on last week's Second Coffee with Kenobi. But when I first saw the logo for Rogue Squadron, I thought, well, okay, I'm not really a flight kind of a guy. That just doesn't really do much for me. However, I know Patty Jenkins is an incredible talent. She makes great movies. And then when I saw that video on Twitter of her walking on that runway talking about the impact of her father being a fighter pilot and how she lost him in a fighter pilot training accident, and how that's like her motivation for making this movie and showing the power of these fighter pilots, I was sold, 100% sold. I went from being a little disappointed and a little despondent about it to being absolutely thrilled because the pathos, the passion that she has for making this movie, that does it for me. I mean, that does it for me. That's going to be great. All right, let's see. We got some fun stuff here. Acolyte origin of Darth Plagueis? I don't know. I don't really do a lot of speculating, of course, on Coffee with Kenobi because personally it ends up leading me to being disappointed, but that is a fun thing to think about, so I'm not sure. But knowing that we're going to see something involving maybe the emergence of the dark side and eventually how it leads to Palpatine would be really, really cool. Tyler says he'd like to see Billy D as old Lando telling stories and it's played out with Donald Glover as young Lando. That would be great. That would be great. John is fired up about Patty Jenkins. Phil also loved that trailer. Zach says, amazing director. Love Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman 84 looks good. Yep, it comes out on Christmas Day along with Pixar's Soul. Ian says, thank goodness we have High Republic to keep chase away those blues over the conclusion of Season 2 of Mando. Yes, and you may have seen, Ian and everybody else, I posted it in the CWK Cafe and then, of course, on our website, coffeewithkenobi.com. But I posted a very brief, spoiler-free, plot-free review of the High Republic. I've read the first 3 novels of the High Republic, which they come out January, February, and March. And I'm allowed to say that you can be excited about this. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. I particularly like Charles Soule's the best. But wow. You guys are going to love this familiar yet unique take on this galaxy far, far away that we think we know. And we do. But there's some fun stuff. So you're going to really like reading the High Republic. Be sure to get those novels when they come out. So fun. Eric is a ship guy and he can't wait for Rogue Squadron. I'm very glad, Eric. I can't wait. Maybe we'll have you on to talk about the movie when it comes out. LJ's pumped to have a Patty Jenkins Star Wars movie as her directing it. And you know what, LJ? It's such a coup to get a director of her caliber. She's so wanted in Hollywood right now. So the fact that she's coming to Star Wars is huge. Yeah, Top Gun, Phil says, meets Star Wars. I think that's fun. Jim says he's in the minority, but Visions is what he's personally most excited for. He's a big anime fan, short films, and there's a few Japanese directors that I love to see their take on Star Wars. Jim, I'm glad. Just like, the whole flight thing. Anime isn't necessarily my wheelhouse, but that doesn't mean I don't appreciate the fact that other people appreciate it. So, Jim, I know you're a huge anime guy, so I hope it's wonderful for your sake alone. Eric says Acolyte takes place at the tail end of the High Republic. That's correct. It takes place at the very end of the High Republic. So there's a lot of unknowns here. LJ's the same way. He's excited to see what studios are working on in the project. It's pretty cool that it's cross. Look at that. Eric, LJ, Eric. I love it. MD wants a Darth Revan show. Yep. Well, that would be pretty cool. That would be very cool. There's a lot of Star Wars coming. And this is what we know so far. It looks like we've got the next couple of years. At least we have kind of a plan. We understand where things are going. All right. I love it. Let's go ahead and let's make our little transition here. I think it's time to talk about The Mandalorian, right? It's time to talk about The Mandalorian, our top 5 moments from The Believer. What a spectacular episode. But we say that almost every week, don't we? We really do. Luis says, hello, Kenobi, I would like an adaptation of the books, Heir to the Empire. What do you think would be good? I think that would be great. And, you know, who knows what's going to happen with these episodes we're going to have coming out. But I would love that. Heir to the Empire. I don't imagine they'll adapt Heir to the Empire because it's not canonical. But who knows? Who knows what they're going to do? They've certainly been mining a lot of great stuff from that era of Star Wars. And Chris, good to have you on the show, man. Good to have you back. All right, let's talk about The Believer. A great episode. Very interesting. Top 5s for this one. It was a little bit different than the previous two because there's such big highs, but this one had big character stuff and some great fight sequences for sure. So my number 5, top 5 moments from The Believer, my number 5 is the TIE rescue. Never did I think that I'd be watching something Star Wars and people that I was rooting for were going to be rescued by TIE fighters. When they come roaring in and they blast those pirates, I was shocked. And even Mason properly, a 7-year-old boy, used the word irony a couple times when talking about that scene with me. So very proud of you for that, Mason. But it was ironic. There's a lot of irony about them returning and having the stormtroopers cheer for them. We're not used to seeing that. There's a lot of identity stuff in this episode, which you'll hear tomorrow on Coffee with Kenobi's podcast. Din from F105 and then Jay Krebs from Podcast Stardust joined me. So you'll have that to look forward to as far as the detailed breakdown of that. What about everybody else here? We're going to see a lot of this, I believe. Phil says, where are you, Phil? Got to get those TPS reports in. I know. Ironic that we had Office Space in there. Jim, also, the TPS reports mentioned as a fan of Office Space, that it got a good laugh out of me. And it kind of slipped by because it was a very tense moment, so I almost missed it. But yeah, pretty great. Minta is number 5. Boba Fett's new paint job on his armor. That's my honorable mention. I love that part too. I picked the TIE rescue because of the irony, but his new paint job is really slick. Really slick. He's number 5. The Sonic Boom was a great callback to one of the coolest sequences in Attack of the Clones. Boy, what a surprise that was. More on that later. 5 for Ross, seeing both Moff Gideon and Din Djarin so shook and uncomfortable, during the episode. Such impactful acting by Giancarlo and Pascal, saying so much when not speaking. Yes, that was really, really super cool. So cool. 5 for Murray, the vulnerability and how uncomfortable Mando was without his helmet, that entire table scene. Interesting. Mary, I'm interested to see what you think after you hear the show tomorrow, what I said about that. Thank you, MD. Mason is a really smart young man. He's doing great in school and working hard, and we're very proud of him. But thank you so much for saying that. It means a lot. Zach, saying about the applause and the short troopers showing up, so good. Yeah, so cool. Short troopers. Mason goes, short troopers. We were pumped. We love that armor. Phil, TIE rescue would be my number 5 too. Very good. Tyler's number 5. Din without the helmet. Wasn't expecting to see him helmetless. Was to see his emotions. It was cool to see his emotions for once, and got a kick out of him being hard of hearing. Yeah, that was an interesting, quick thinking by Mayfeld. Eric's, I love how it showed people are all the same no matter what side you're on. Yeah, it really made you think about identity and, sort of like, history is told by the victors kind of a thing. Brian, also, TPS reports, if I don't see an Office Space and Empire crossover as cosplay, I'll be very disappointed in the cosplay community. Well, Brian, you are 501st, buddy. I think you need to be a leader in that regard. LJ, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's Rick. It's Famir. I don't know if you spelled that right. I'm not really sure, but yes, he was fantastic. All 3 of his Mando episodes have a really cool aesthetic. it feels like he may get it the lightest scripts each time, but he ends up telling rich stories nonetheless. And when I see him interviewed, he knows his Star Wars. Like, Star Wars inspired him when he was younger. So yeah, he does a great job. A great job. I agree. Mary likes the whole brown eyes thing that they called Din Djarin. That was pretty funny. Very good. Mason's number 5 is at the beginning when Mandalorian says, "But I won't be showing my face," and then he gets on that basically tank trooper all gray uniform, and Mason really got a kick out of that line and sort of how fiery that was. Number 4 for me, I put truck fight. It's not a truck; it's a transport for the Rhydonium. But this, to me, was completely an homage to the Raiders of the Lost Ark truck fight, which is, to me, the best part in the best movie ever, Raiders of the Lost Ark. But that whole fight sequence, especially the spin kick that the Mandalorian did, a lot of great moments in that sequence. But that whole truck fight was very exciting. And then when you think the pirates are gone, there's all that smoke and the explosion, and there's more and more and more of them showing up. And everyone's thinking, oh no, it was great. Great stuff. Really great stuff. All right. Let's see. Number 4s for everyone. The Juggernaut chase scene reminded me of Indiana Jones. Yep, absolutely. Totally agree, man. Minta's number 4. Stormtroopers to the rescue. The tables have been turned. Yeah, so odd and so kind of captivating, too. Jim says Fennec and Kara's sharpshooting. Wasn't that cool? Tom Gross particularly really liked that part. That was cool to see them up there, and you just feel safe because they're up there and you know that they're not going to miss. 4 for Eric, the callback to Operation Cinder, which is steeped in the comic book series Star Wars Shattered Empire, and then the Aftermath trilogy by Chuck Wendig, and then Star Wars Battlefront 2's main story thing, for sure. Fired up, man. Tyler says, Mando's fight on the truck. I love seeing him beat down those guys. The best was when he got knocked down but got back up like Captain America in Endgame. Oh, that's a good point. 4 for Zach, Mayfeld and Bill Burr's character development and how he took his mission personally. Boy, did he ever. More on that from me soon. Mary Bubba's saying they would recognize his face. I almost put that on there too, but it was just so quick. So it's so hard to pick these, isn't it? Mason agreed. He's like, well, this is a hard one to pick, just 5, Daddy. Can we just do a top 10? we stuck with our top 5. But yeah, I'm saying, let's just say they recognize my face. And they would. Absolutely. Ian's number 4, Valen Hesse. He looked evil. He sounded evil. He was great. He was evil, great Star Wars villain. Yeah, and he's kind of got that accent going. And yeah, he's very chilling and mean. Ross is number 4, the awesome new location of the Carthon chop fields where they pick up Mayfeld. Very cool visuals, seeing all the TIE fighter wreckage, a crane similar to the one that pulled the Razor Crest in the water, and a Bothan prisoner. Yes, that's right. That was... I loved watching the opening of that, Ross, just looking at all the TIE fighters and trying to pick all the stuff through the wreckage, and thought that was really fun. LJ's number 4, didn't sign of exhaustion when he sees more people coming to fight. It felt very indie-esque. Exactly, the whole thing felt like Indiana Jones. He kind of relaxes posture, then he kind of gets up like that, and he's a little weak, like when he's fighting the mechanic on the plane as well in Raiders. Love the number 4. Thanks, Brian. Wondering why the pirates are not stealing but trying to blow up, and they're all the same alien race. Is there something more here? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, are they inhabitants of that planet and they're trying to liberate their planet? Are they just full of mischief? I don't know. It's kind of strange, but definitely more going on. Mace's number 4 is when the Mandalorian in the truck sequence throws that spear. Poof. And at that point, it looks like they're going to be hopefully home free, although we all know, we've all seen in Star Wars and action movies, that it's not the end. But that spear thing was pretty fun. All right, number 3. My number 3, looks like Zach's got his 3. I'm going to throw my 3 up here real quick, is the Mayfeld revelation. When he's sitting there talking to Valen Hesse, and he starts talking about Operation Cinder and the 5,000 to 10,000 people that died because of the Empire, and Valen Hesse's smugness and sort of indifference, to all that destruction, and Mayfeld getting tears in his eyes. Those was some really good acting by Bill Burr. I was really impressed. And then, of course, what happens? I'm not talking about the blast. That's not my number 3, but him opening himself up and us learning about him, which we start to do in the transport earlier in the episode. But here, when he spills his guts and the Mandalorian starts to see what makes this guy tick, he's not just evil. or cranky or mean. There's a reason. There's a method to the madness, as Hamlet would say. Actually, no, that's Polonius. Anyway, got a little Shakespeare nerd out there. I'm back. So that was very important because him just being mean and bad, that doesn't do much for me. But that motivation of why he's so mysterious, that works for me. And I'll get to number 3 for Mason. He says, boom, the seismic charge. He loved that part. That was such a thrill at our house when that happened. Number 3 for Zach, Fett. The fact that his armor is repainted and how he has his E11 blaster and the Sonic Blast. I think the face portion is because he looks like a clone. Absolutely. That is exactly why. Minta's number 3. Let's just say they might recognize my face. At least Boba has a sense of humor despite the dangerous situation. Yeah, you don't really hear a lot of that from Boba Fett, so it was cool to see the sort of that. It's kind of like a savage irony there, so I like that too. Tyler's number 3, Mayfield. I was very excited to see Bill Burr back, and I know you're a big Mayfield fan too, Tyler. He says he enjoyed his quips and snarky attitude, but what surprised him was this big emotional scene. Bill brought his A game and knocked out the party. Exactly, and that's my number 3 as well. That was very, very cool. Ian's number 3, Mayfield, is a testament to Rick Farming. Gosh, I just apologize. I need to find out how to pronounce it. As a storyteller and Bill Burr's talents as an actor that our previous perception of this chapter is a complete 180 on. Seems like The Mandalorian and Star Wars recently, like with Kylo Ren, is showing us these characters you think you know, you actually don't. It's a good metaphor, everybody. We don't always know what is making people tick and what motivates them. We make a lot of assumptions, so it was a good reminder, and I think fiction is good at doing that. Number 3 for Eric is Din taking off his helmet to save his son. Most definitely. 3 for Mary. Bill Burr's performance was fantastic. The backstory we now know about Mayfield was so good. For Ross, Valen Hess is the Imperial officer. He sold everything as positive for his evil cause, especially his role in Operation Cinder. Bonus to tie in Battlefront 2 and multiple novels. That's right, which we talked about a little bit earlier in the show. And yes, Valen Hess, Operation Cinder, and how they're connecting things. You almost have to have like all your source books open, including, of course, the Star Wars book, to keep track of everything. Jim's tie rescue was pretty compelling. It almost felt like a fist pump moment for the audience. It was so weird to like cheer for the tie, but it was helping out our characters. Phil says he's worried that Mayfield will use his knowledge of Mando's face to bribe him later on. See, I don't think so. I think there was an understanding there. I mean, they both saw their most vulnerable moments, and there's a brotherhood to what they're doing and what they're trying to accomplish. And the fact that Mayfield blows up the Rhydonian at the end tells me he's all in. So I'm not worried about that, but I understand what you're saying. LJ's 3, Fett's armor. While I like the weathered armor, the new paint job is sweet. I kind of almost wish it would stayed weathered, but it was cool that he's like, it makes sense he would touch it up because there's so much pride in that Mandalorian armor, obviously. Famayiwa? Is that what you're saying, Eric? Famayiwa? I feel like it was more like kind of, it had a J to it. I don't know. But thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. Famayiwa. Okay. But in my defense, Zara's hard to pronounce too. I don't know. But thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. All right, number 2. We're getting down to the top 2. These are the 2 that were the easiest for me. Number 2 for me is sans helmet or without helmet. I maintain, and we had a nice debate on this, which you hear on Coffee with Kenobi tomorrow morning, is I don't think there was a shadow of a doubt that when Din Djarin took off that helmet, he was uncomfortable because it was a dangerous situation. There was so much at stake, but not because he was exposing his face. To me, he was completely at peace with that because he did it without hesitation. He didn't have to think about it. He just did it. He just took action for his son. And I think there's nothing better than that, obviously, as a father. So I think that was so crucial and important. And the first time I watched it, I was like, why isn't this scene more traumatic for him? And the reason is because he doesn't care about that other stuff. He cares about his family. And the child, Grogu, is his family. So I thought that was so important and so powerful. Not my number 1. But it could easily be 1A, to be honest with you. All right, number 2, for Minta. Mayfield revealing his past. I wasn't expecting him to tell his story about his war days. And knowing that he was still deeply affected by the loss of fellow troopers showed us humanity. Yep, which is why, to me, too, that I am more interested in that character. Jim's is the same as mine. Din's removal of the helmet. Great display of the lengths he's willing to go for Grogu, but also that he's willing to evolve beyond his past. Exactly. He's past that now. Those dogmatic views are important, but it's just not the same thing. Just not the same thing. Tyler says, Din's message to Gideon, such an alpha move on Mando's part. I love the monologue being switched on Gideon and his look of, I may have messed up when the message ended. Oh, I like that, Tyler. Yeah. It was very alpha, very much like, I'm coming for you. It reminded me of Rambo in First Blood, if you remember that sequence. It was good stuff. David says, Mando's threatening hollow message to Moff Gideon, chilling. Yes, for sure. Mary, the seismic charge going off, my son and I both yelled. Yep, Mason and I had a very similar reaction. Very excited about that. Ian's number 2, also the same as mine and Jim's and a few others. Removing his helmet, I love that it was Din's love for Grogu that brought this about. Something like this would have been previously unthinkable for him and was done without hesitation to save his child. This is truly the way. It's right. Completely without hesitation. All for love. All for love. 2, Mayfeld for Ross is Mayfeld showing his true colors and more in-depth character. He has seen some harrowing experiences on Burnin Khan. It was excellent seeing him take that last shot to destroy the Rhydonium. I agree. To me, that was the exclamation point on why I suddenly found him an interesting character. I like the nuance of characters. I mean, I like when they're just one way or another, as far as like all good or whatever, like Cap. But when there's a little more nuance, it's more compelling. And it's kind of the world we live in now, too. Eric, the seismic charge is totally not expecting that. So cool. I know, it's such a when the hatch opens, and you're like, oh, no way. You're hoping for the same sound, and you get it. 2 for Phil is Mayfeld's perfect shot. Definitely. Zach's 2, the opening sequence. Anytime I see the aftermath of the Empire is so cool and just gives me awesome vibes. I agree. It's that nice flashback. LJ's 2 is Bill Burr. Pretty much everyone has said it already. But he knew that Bill Burr had some great comedic chops, but his scene in the officer's mess hall was really well done. It really was. He's a good actor. Speaking of, Carter also says, Carter, good to have you on the show. He says, Mayfeld acting, Bill Burr perfectly personified his feelings. He really did. Like, even like, you could just see it in his eyes. Like, it didn't feel like acting. It felt like you were really there, which is what you want. Brian's number 2. Brian, good to see you, man. Brian's Mayfeld's discussion with the Imperial officer and blowing up the cargo. Yeah. That was good stuff. Mason's number 2 is when the Mandalorian takes off his helmet, just like I have and some of you have as well. But it's time for our number 1. Our number 1 top moment from The Believer. To me, it's the seismic charge. I mean, that's maybe it's in my top 5 favorite sound effects of all time. I don't remember if I put that in the Facebook list, but I love that. It's one of my favorite moments in Attack of the Clones. It sounds great in surround sound. It sounded great in the theater. And seeing that Boba Fett had it, it almost reminded me, it very much reminded me of his feelings for his father and that closeness the two of them have. So awesome. And by the way, just great stuff. I mean, when it happened, I've been alluding to it all episode, but Mason and I go, no way. And we high five. There's nothing better than watching these with my little boy and just the excitement we all have. We got a lot of number 1s over here, so I'm going to get to all of your number 1s for sure. Number 1 for Phil is the final speech from Mando to Moff Gideon with using the exact tone and choice words right back at him. Yes, and I watched that episode again today in one of my mythology classes, and I just thought that was fun. Matthew, good to see you. He says, Matthew's truck talk, we're all the same when the end justifies the means. Yeah, talking about, basically at the end of the night, if you can get to sleep, then you've done something right. That was very interesting. Very interesting. Carter, you have something that I want. You may think you have some idea what you're in possession of, but you do not. Soon it will be with me, making me crave the next episode. Yep, as Mason and I just said before the show tonight, just 3 more sleeps until we get to see the finale of this thing, which is fun. Number 1 for Jim, Din's transmission to Gideon, things are about to get crazy. Man, I hope it's a long episode. Don't you guys? Don't you, ladies and gentlemen? It's going to be so much fun. I really want to milk it too. LJ, number 1, same as mine. Seismic charge. That sound effect is the best. It really is. Tyler feels the same way. When that chase started, I thought how cool it would be to see a seismic charge. When the back opened up, I was like, what? And when it went off, I threw my hands in the air and cheered. Perfect fan service. Yep, me too. Me too. Number 1 for Mary, the last scene between Mando and Gideon. Wow. And by the way, that's Mason's number 1 as well. Mary and everyone. The message, Mando message, he wrote it down. Again, Mason and I are sitting there watching the show our second time through. We've got our notebooks out, taking notes. I love it. So much fun. So much fun. Ian's number 1. He means more to me than you'll ever know. Right up there with one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars. It was amazing to hear Din with such confidence throw Gideon's words back in his face while making small but important changes for Grogu is he versus it. That's right. Beautifully written, directed, and delivered. Chills every time. I agree. Really putting himself out there, but unabashedly so, being who he is. Not being afraid to put his heart on his chest, which is a little unlike him to a degree. So that's great because he's evolving. Eric, Mayfeld's redemption arc, wasn't a fan of his character until this episode. I agree. I didn't care about Mayfeld at all, but now I did. This season is doing a lot of that with me, with a lot of these characters. Brian agrees. Seismic charge, just so fantastic. And Brian, I had a feeling you would like that too. I think we talked about that back when you lived in Illinois and we hung out a couple times. Ross, Djarin's sacrifice and evolution. He is reborn in this episode, and his intensity on his hollow to Moff Gideon is thrilling, especially in only changing one word from Gideon's speech, referring to Grogu as he. That's what Din Djarin does, of course. He means more to me than you will ever know. Yep, it was fun. Minta, Din Djarin taking off his helmet for the second time, knowing deep down he was doing this for Grogu despite his discomfort. And when he repeated the same speech to Moff Gideon from the first season, felt like a Liam Neeson moment. Oh yeah, totally, like Taken or something like that. Minta's honorable mention is seismic charge. For sure, that's definitely one that a lot of us like. That was my number one. MD says, Mando's willingness to go that extra mile for the child, some we do in the military. Never leave a man behind. Never leave your crew behind. We were family. The kid is his family now, and he knows it. That's right. Very powerful. For Chris, number one, Olive, Kara, and Fennec scenes with long-range blaster rifles. I'm not ashamed or embarrassed. No, you shouldn't be. It was super cool. Mayfeld's character depth as well. I agree. Very deep. It was very deep. Very, very, very important and powerful. Zach, it's number one. Anytime we see a Star Destroyer, I wonder if there are models that are made for those shots. So iconic. Oh, they got to be. They got to be. I hope we get to see that in the basically the Mandalorian gallery there and do the making of stuff. I hope that'll be great. Well, thanks everybody so much. You know what next week is going to be, right? Next week's top 5 is your top 5 moments from the finale of season 2, chapter 16. We don't know what the title is yet, as is the way it's been, and I've been really glad about that. It's been fun to be uncertain. It makes it much, much more compelling. The challenge for me is going to be, gosh, what are we going to talk about when Mandalorian's over? But I have a lot of faith in us and what we're going to do. By the way, so again, be sure to check out chapter 16 of The Mandalorian, which is obviously the no-brainer of all time. And then we're going to discuss it here next Monday night. Man, crazy. So let's go ahead and jump into Ask Dan Z. I actually have something to ask all of you as well. Speaking of asking, Carter wants to know if anybody's going to go hunting for an Xbox Series X tomorrow at 8. I'm not, but I wonder if anybody else is. A lot of people at our house, we're going for the PS5. It's a lot of fun stuff. Tyler says, not ready for it to end, but at least we have a date for Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's true. And then we've got WandaVision coming up really, really soon, too. 3 hours long would be great. I'd be late for school, so I'd have to wake up a lot earlier. So we'll see. Minta's worried that something's going to happen to Grogu. I'm not. I think he'll be okay. I hope he'll be okay. Or will they end it in a cliffhanger? Ooh. All right. Let me ask all of you something. I put this on Patreon. I put this on Twitter. And I put it on our CWK Cafe. But we want to make some beanies. We want to make some beanies for people to order because they're fun. The actual trucker hats were great. So we've got 2 options, and these are obviously for when it's chillier out. We've got 2 options. We've got this black one, the CWK Alliance one, and we want to see basically if you want to order this one. I don't necessarily like the crease at the top of it, but it's okay. I mean, I just like that it's really, really cool looking. I love the logo that Corey designed. Or we've got this one, the beanie. To me, this one looks warmer. I like the beanie on top. And I like the black and the gray contrast. That's the one that I like. But I want to know what all of you like, which one you prefer. So be sure to vote in the CWK Cafe or on Twitter or on Patreon if you're a member of the CWK Alliance. Hey, Merry Christmas to you, buddy. Happy holidays. And pleasure to have you. Be sure to join us next Monday night, man. We'll always save a spot for you for sure. Phil likes the idea of waiting until next week to find out what happens. I agree. The binge watching is fine, but for The Mandalorian, I just like the hype. I like the hype. Ian wants to know if CWK Alliance members get to vote twice. Well, it depends. Are you going to vote for the same one twice? Or are you going to vote for each of them? Minta likes the black one. Eric likes the one with the palm, the gray. Tyler likes the one with the palm and the gray. Jim likes the black. Carter likes the gray one. Ross likes the cuff. Phil's also likes the palm one. Mary likes the palm one. So it looks like that one's winning, just at least what we've got right here. So, but let me know. And by the way, did any of you enter the Columbia contest where we're giving away Columbia Mandalorian jacket? It comes with the vest. It's really, really high quality packaging. Mason votes for the palm one as well. Noted, young Padawan Mason's there. MD says black. Christopher likes the palm one too. Okay, good to know. I know Mrs. Air liked both of them. I think Mrs. Air was leaning towards the black one. Is that right, Deanna? I can't remember. I feel like that's right. We'll see. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah. So Columbia sent me that jacket and it's great. And we've got one to give away. This is from us. This isn't from Columbia. I got an extra one and I want to give it away to a listener. Somebody's a big Star Wars fan who loves The Mandalorian. I know that's all of you. So be sure to enter. I think it closes tonight. So be sure to enter. Carter did it too. I love it. Honestly, would display the box. So the box is great. It's like a giant Beskar shape even with the Imperial logo stamped in there. No palm for MD. Got you, man. We will keep that in mind for sure. Maybe we'll just offer both, but you have to have a certain amount sold for it to actually print. So we shall see. Does anybody have any questions for me about the book, about Star Wars, anything like that? We're really, really close to Christmas. And we're very excited this week, speaking of Christmas, on CWK Pour Over. We get more and more members of the CWK Alliance all the time, which is great. But this week we did our top 5 favorite Christmas songs. And boy, do we have a great time talking about it. We even got to sing. You entered, Phil, on coffeewithkenobi.com. You'll see the entry there. It's just on our post. It has a picture of the coat. So let me, be sure to jump in there and sign up. There's a number of ways to enter. I think you can get 5 or 6 entries. I can't remember. Maybe it's even more. But you got a lot of chances. So be sure to check it out, Phil. You won't be sorry. That's for sure. It's going to be a lot of fun. So this week, yes, we got to do top 5 Christmas songs. And it wasn't just like a song like Jingle Bells. You had to say who the song was and who sang it, which version. And again, Coffee with Kenobi this week. We had 2 episodes last week. We did a review of the tragedy, but we also did the Disney Investors Meeting breakdown with myself, Clayton, Tom, and Corey. Super fun. Thank you for ordering the book, man. I appreciate that. It's a fun book. I'm really happy about it. Can you hear a demo of me singing? You know what? You don't really want to hear me sing. I was really, really goofy and obnoxious, but definitely check out Pour Over this week and you'll get a chance to hear it. There's a 12 Days Clone Wars version. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Are the songs from the top 5 from the Star Wars Holiday Show? No, they're all real Christmas songs. For sure. By the way, speaking of Christmas and celebrations and good things like that, be sure, if you're thinking about traveling at all soon, I mean, obviously travel is a sort of a different ballgame, but, hopefully we're getting more to the end of this thing than we are to the beginning of it. But when you are going to travel, please consider going to MEI and Mousefan Travel. They are the official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi. I know a lot of members of the CWK Alliance have been using MEI and Mousefan Travel and have been thrilled with Becky Mankin and everybody else. And not only is it a great company that I trust, I use them for the show, and we use them for our family. So be sure to check out MEI and Mousefan Travel. You definitely won't regret it. They don't just do Disney World either. They go anywhere on the planet that you want to go on vacation. They are really, really awesome. Speaking of awesome, all of you are insanely, incredibly, wonderfully awesome for joining me every week on Coffee with Kenobi's Facebook Live. It's so fun talking with each and every one of you about Star Wars, celebrating The Mandalorian, and when we're watching it, Mason and I talk about what our top 5s are going to be. So fun. LJ booked his trip in June with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Thank you so much, LJ. And I heard that you were very fun to work with, which doesn't surprise me in the least. So be sure to use MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. LJ can vouch for them. I can certainly vouch for them too. Yeah, when you get to go to Galaxy's Edge, Eric, you're going to love it. Mary says, have a great week. It's going to be bittersweet on Friday because we don't have Mando backups until next time. I know it's going to be difficult, but other stuff's going to fill in. We're going to have so much fun. Meantime, may the Force be with you. Jim, thank you as always for joining us. Really appreciate you. I appreciate all of you, your conversation, your contributions. Eric, you have a good night too. I mean, it's really so much fun to be a part of the Star Wars community. It's because of all of you. So be sure to check out Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, enter the Columbia jacket giveaway contest. And hey, I love it, man. It's just so much fun. There's more contests coming. We've got a lot of fun stuff. And hey, I'm honored to be a part of it, my friend. Thank you so much. Good night to you, David. Everybody have a great week and weekend. We will see you next time and look for a brand new Coffee with Kenobi tomorrow morning. See you, everybody. Take care.